Hi, and welcome to another exploration of early internet. I am Tim, this is Geek Jabber, and we're going to explore a piece of software that I used back in the 90s that I've been able to source another copy of. It's this little piece of software here called HotDog, which is an early HTML editor. Now, I'd love to get a registered version of this, but I doubt I'd be able to do that now. I believe this was written by a guy in Australia. I'd have to track him down and see if they're willing to actually do it. But for the demonstration purposes that I'm doing here, it'll be fine. So this is basically how I learned to work with HTML back in the 90s. And yes, the interface by modern standards is extremely dated, but still somewhat functional. So we'll start first by saving it somewhere. And I'm saving it to a floppy. I paid for the floppy, therefore I'm using the floppy. And of course, it's the usual restrictions here of 8+3 character file names. So let's do something creative here. So this is your basic document structure for early HTML. So your title, which appears in the address bar up here. Let's give it something creative. That'll do. Now, of course, this was well before you had things like style sheets and the like, so yeah, there's no sort of custom CSS that you can do nowadays. So we'll just turn that into H1, which is a heading. We'll just so we can do JPEG. I've already put a JPEG onto this disk. So yeah, it's pretty basic page, but hey, it's good enough just to show off some basic HTML. So let's have a look at what that looks like. So I've basically told it to use Netscape to do the rendering because that's the web browser I've got on this machine. As usual, it takes a moment to think about it. Yes, web development and web browsing on these early machines was very much an experience. It's thinking about it, it's trying. It's definitely trying. So there's our nice heading 1. It's trying to display the image. And we've got our Revenge of the Geeks thing at the top. And it is absolutely struggling to read that image file. I think the fact that this machine has only 8 megabytes of RAM is only just enough to do something like this. It is very slowly trying to load. There's our sausage file. So there's our image. So we haven't got that quite right. As is normal, it's just throwing everything onto one line. I forgot about that. It's been that long since I've done that. So we need to add a line break. So the thing about this is you basically did all this point and click stuff if you wanted to learn which tags did what, or once you'd learned them, you just type them in like that. So no WYSIWYG here, and I'm knocking the tripod again. So we'll tempt fate and try and reload this. And I'll just try and, there we go, that's a slightly better framing after knocking the camera. It's trying to reload again. And again, it's stuck on that image. So I'll give it a moment to load. So we've got our text at least. And I may have done that, yeah, okay, I've done that incorrectly. I forgot line breaks weren't, I don't think line breaks were in this version of HTML yet. So use paragraphs. So this was basically HTML version 2. So it didn't have all the luxuries that we actually had yet. So it didn't support all the tags that we take for granted now. Doesn't support CSS. It was just very basic in what it could actually do. And we'll try reloading again. We'll tempt fate one more time. See, it's sort of a bit of a trip down memory lane as I try and remember the limitations of the earlier HTML standards. But back in the day, it's not even like that. So I suspect when the image loads in, it's not going to, it's going to do all sorts of stuff. So I'm obviously forgetting little bits and pieces about early HTML, and I'm trying to make modern stuff work with it. So yeah, I might actually leave it here though, so we're not just sitting here constantly reloading stuff. But this is what we basically had back in the early to mid 90s to do basic HTML editing before we got proper WYSIWYG tools. So this is basically how a lot of people would have learned early HTML, and that sounds like a thunderstrike. So I should probably power this down soon, but this is how a lot of people learned basic HTML and how to develop their own simple websites. Obviously things are a lot better now, but yeah, this is the way things used to be done. So I'll wrap this one up here. As usual, if you want to support the channel, there are links to the website and Discord and stuff down in the description. You know what to do with that subscribe button and that notification bell if you want to see more of this stuff. And I shall wrap this one up here.